Jay, did you download the Rayman thing?
Oh, I didn't. I will.
Oh my god!
Actually,
Jay, don't do it because it'll just make you want.
What the fuck?
Did someone just die?
Hello?
Did someone have like a secret? What? No, you're scaring me because that's the same exact kid had a seizure. Okay, I'm scared. Do this to me.
It was so hard not laughing. Hey everybody, welcome to the Hate4 Podcast. This is your host Frank Percio, and I'm here with Jay.
I started reading Homestuck. I'm one of them now!
Andrew.
I am not one of Homestuck, thankfully.
And our Games Unplugged editor, Burt.
Hey there, internets.
And today we're here to talk about sequels that never were. All of us, we've played through tons of games, and we have, just these games that we wish we would see sequels to, or series that might have changed direction over the years and kind of become something that hardly is reminiscent of the series it actually started out on. And we just kind of want to talk and reflect on the games that we'd really like to see take either a return to form or just get a sequel out of. So we'll start with Jay. What would you like to see a sequel to, man?
Oh, well, for me, there's really one that stands out for me, and it's funny that we're talking about ones that never came to be, because this is actually one that's been teased at for the last few months by Square Enix. One of my favorite DS games, probably my absolute favorite DS game, actually, is The World Ends With You, and that game just stood out to me as just being one of those unique experiences that you can't get something quite like it, like just the fast-paced gameplay, the way it presents this packed Shibuya section of Tokyo, and it's just this fantastic little game that a lot of people don't know about somehow. Very much a cult classic, and Square Enix has actually teased at a sequel to this game, and we thought we were getting it when, it was around 6 months ago, Square Enix put out this big countdown that was themed after The World Ends With You, and everyone thought it was going to be the announcement for a sequel. Oh yeah, let's do this, another trip to demon-infested Tokyo. Turned out it was an iOS port.
Oh.
And an $18 iOS port, which doesn't work on iPod Touches, which is what I have, so that was a moot point for me.
It's okay, it doesn't work on iPad Originals either, because I wanted to get it. And
yeah.
I think Square is the only company that feels comfortable with charging nearly $20 for their apps, I just want to say.
Yeah. And then having them be
Square
terrible.
is used to being able to do that.
And then having them be terrible half the time. Everyone remember All the Bravest?
Ooh. Yeah.
But that game, the iOS port, actually, I don't remember what the context of this was, but in that game there is like a Easter egg screenshot of what's supposedly teasing a sequel to the game. It's some new character holding an item which is specific to Shiki, one of the other characters of The World Ends With You. And so supposedly that's teasing something, but nothing more has been said about it since its release. And there's been rumors now that this sequel in the works has been canceled, which I, for one, hope it is not, because the original is just one of those unique, just frantically fun experiences that I love on the DS.
Now, I was going to ask, I haven't played it before. I know the game was immensely successful. It just, for some reason, it didn't really catch my eye, and I kind of skimmed over it. What am I missing here? What makes The World End With You so great?
Oh, man. Well, The World Ends With You it has some RPG elements. Really, it's just a sort of beat-em-up action RPG, where you've got two different characters. You're controlling the main character, Neku, on the touch screen, then you're controlling one of three other characters on the top screen, independently of each other. So you're using the stylus to control Neku and either using the D-pad to chain together different basic chains for the other character, or letting them go on autopilot, which is useful for early on in the game.
So the combat's in real time?
Yes, it's all completely real time.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's 2D, but sort of on like an overhead plane, at least for Neku. For the character on the top screen, it's just left to right, choose which way you're attacking, and different characters can chain together attacks in different ways. You can create different combos. And there were different, one thing I liked is the way like the clothing and armor systems works is different areas of the whole game takes place in the Shibuya district of Tokyo, which is like this enormous sort of shopping district. And basically different areas of it are affected by different brands. All the clothing you get and use as armor is of certain brands. And so, like, depending on just sort of by chance, different areas will have different brands that are most popular at certain times. So there's a lot of cool variation there. There are, I think, hundreds of different possible moves you can, like, powers you can gain access to through pins, which are what you get to unlock different powers and stuff. It's just a really good real-time RPG on the DS. It's a lot more unique than a lot of other RPGs that have come out in the last few years.
Right. Yeah, definitely something I'd like to check out. I definitely have to give it a shot.
Yeah,
now, what else are you looking forward to, or what would you like to see, rather?
Man, the one other big one that I can think of right now is Muramasa the Demon Blade, which came out on the Wii and is getting a Vita port. That game, Vanillaware has made other games similar to that, in a lot of sense, like their new one, Dragon's Crown, follows in kind of formula. I believe Odin Sphere does as well. But there's just something about that game. I have a thing for, like, feudal Japan era stories. Probably why one of my favorite games of all time is Okami, because it's very much
Great game.
Yeah, that feudal Japan, universe. Everything's very beautiful and watercolory. Muramasa is very much the same way. It's a Metroidvania kind of game in a way, with a little less focus on exploration than you find in those, so it's kind of that mixed with a more generic, like, side-scrolling beat-em-up. But, that game, I feel like, deserves not necessarily a sequel, but just another installment in the universe, just because there's so many... The game takes place across two different stories. You've got these two main characters, each telling their own stories that are sort of indirectly part of each other's, and it's just one of those games where you could easily come up with so many other good stories that tie into the universe and create so many more good ideas with, this rich history that it creates, because you've got Kingdoms at War, you've got this one character who's trying to get his betrothed, who is this princess who's at war, to step down and call off the battle, and then she eventually dies. And then you've got the other one where you're playing this female swordmaster who is possessed by an ancient demon and stuff. There's all these different stories that create the setup for what could be a million other stories. And supposedly they're adding some DLC to the Vita version that's going to expand on the world a little bit, but just for the sake of being able to step into... So again, it's very reminiscent of Okami, just stepping into a immersive, just feudal Japan era folktale of a game is something I'd love to do again.
Yeah, I never got a chance to play Muramasa either, but I really enjoyed Odin Sphere, and again, Dragon's Crown, like you said before, looks incredible. Now, this Vita version, is this just pretty much an enhanced port, and that's it?
Yes and no. From what I understand, the graphics are all the same and everything, with, touched up to be in HD because the original was on the Wii. And that's fine, because the graphics are a hand-drawn, gorgeous style. Like hand-drawn games set in feudal Japan. You've got the most beautiful art style you can work with there. No one wants anything more than that.
Now, one thing I do remember, I think, way back in, 2009 or 8 when the original was released, the game did have some pretty big slowdown issues, didn't it?
Not that I recall.
Really?
I mean, a couple minor ones here and there, possibly, but not much issue that I recall. But if there were any, I'm sure those will be fixed on the Vita.
Right.
The other thing new on the Vita version is I believe there is an entire third story being added in, focusing, this is what I heard, is focusing on, I forget her name. She's a fox spirit who helps you at various points. Supposedly there's a story focusing on her that you play through, and there's going to be some DLC stories too. So maybe what I'm talking about we'll get to see more of, but yeah, that's what you can expect from the Vita version. And there's a cool bundle special edition coming out that you can find on our site. Actually, I posted that up a while ago.
Right. Yeah, that would be awesome, definitely, to see a brand new entry in the series.
Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to say?
Not that I can think of, but I'm gonna keep thinking. So if I think of something else, I'll shout it out.
How about you, Burt?
Well, there's a couple of titles I'd love to see. I think I echoed the entire internet's anger when I said I'd really like to see Half-Life 3.
Yeah.
Because at this rate, I don't think that shit's ever coming out.
We're still waiting for Half-Life 2 Episode 3, so we gotta wait.
Yeah, so I just don't think that they're going to be able to, pull themselves away from their whole Steam thing long enough to get this shit done. But obviously I'd love to see them, try to do something. They left it on an infuriating note, and the Orange Box was quite some time ago.
Yeah.
So I wish somebody over there at Valve would kind of pick up the ball. I mean, I love Cave Johnson as much as the next guy, but god damn it, give me my crowbar back. Other games I'd love to see. I'd love to see sequels to. I was just thinking of while you guys were talking about Squaresoft, and all of a sudden I realized, holy shit, I would kill for a Xenogears sequel.
Oh yeah.
That you had Xenosaga, which wasn't really linked to it, and even worse, was essentially a 6-hour movie that maybe you got to play for 30 minutes in.
Yeah, it was definitely the Metal Gear Solid of role-playing games.
Yeah. But I just remember being so thoroughly immersed in it and getting to the point where Faye, the main character, you could walk around without a mech and just walk up to a mech and go, "Hey, my name's Faye, and you are dead."
Yeah.
It had a really engaging story. I remember it was one of the first games that I remember playing that had the full rotation of the camera on it as well, so that you could, kind of see the battle a little bit better, orient yourself a lot more carefully, really kind of take advantage of battlefield positions and things like that. So, I'd love to see something like that.
Real quick, dumb question on Xenogears. Are Xenogears, Xenosaga, and Xenoblade all made by the same person?
Xenogears was Squaresoft, and the Xenoblade games were Namco, I believe? Namco Bandai?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and they even went on record, according to Wikipedia, which we all know is factual and true, that, the developers basically said that the way that it broke down was that it's difficult for us to say it's a direct sequel or a prequel, and a lot of it was tied up in the fact of two different companies, two different IPs. You may see some cursory similarities in the animation style, but they really aren't in the same continuum.
Right. Yeah, because I remember reading that Xenosaga and Xenoblade are at least partially made by the same person, like has the same original creator. Obviously, they're both very different games. I think he just likes the word Xeno.
It's entirely possible.
He just likes his cool science fiction terms.
Yeah, it might be like watching Fringe. You got the blue universe and the red universe. Take your pick. And lastly, there was a game, an old Genesis port, which came out in America as a game called Target Earth. Target Earth is one of those games that I wish that they'd sell on the Xbox Live store so that I could actually get a chance to play that again. I imagine it would age about as well as He-Man would from my youth, but I remember the game being, deep at least to a 14-year-old playing it. And I remembered the fact that it kind of had the feel of a side-scroller, but ultimately you could rush right to the end of the board and then run all the way back. And as a matter of fact, in some levels, you better goddamn well do that because you need to make sure that you're covering yourself adequately in terms of not getting shot. The game was hard. I never beat the game without using a cheat code. It was one of those games that was so hard it would kill you, it would kill the person sitting next to you on the couch, it would kill your dog, your families, people who came to deliver pizza. Anybody who got too close, the game would kill. And it had an interesting and engaging story, but there's only so many times I can be shot in the face before I just kind of throw down the control and go, I'm out!
Yeah, I've been there.
But it would be awesome to see them do either a sequel to it or just take the original one and gussy it up fancy style, like Namco seems to have this habit of doing these days. Pac-Man Super Champion Turbo Edition, because idiots like me buy it out of nostalgia and then play it into the ground. But those would be my entries for things I'd really be looking for sequels to.
Well, with the big thing now on, challenging games having a resurgence, thank fucking God I'm sick of beating games in a weekend. But we look at games like Demon's Souls and Dark Souls. I just gotta say, it's funny that games actually, when they come forth with a little bit of a challenge, how it's somehow noteworthy, like they're the exception to the rule. But with the way that's going now, maybe it would be the right time to see a new Target Earth game. Maybe people actually have the grit to play through it.
Maybe, but it's still I would definitely love to see that come out again. So developers, if you're listening, get on that shit. I really, really want it. I will give you the monies.
All right, how about you, Andrew?
Well, since Burt started off with Half-Life 3, I'd like to start it off with another game that ends with 3 that we'll probably never see. Kingdom Hearts 3.
Why do you say never on that? I'm curious.
Disney likes money.
Well,
how many Kingdom Hearts games have they had since Kingdom Hearts 2 that weren't 3?
They've had Birth by Sleep, 35A over 2 days, Recoded, Dream Drop Distance, so
a lot.
4.
Oh, they're suffering from Capcom syndrome. Don't know how to count to 3.
Like.
Capcom or Assassin's Creed syndrome.
And like Half-Life 3, we will eventually see it, just not for
I may be dead by then.
Steambox,
exactly.
day one.
It's funny because in order for Kingdom Hearts 3 to even start production, they need to finish up with Final Fantasy Versus 13, which has been in production for like 7 fucking years. And we haven't even gotten any new information about it for like the past 2. So we don't even know when that's going to come out. So, we have to wait for Versus 13 to come out before they even start with Kingdom Hearts 3. So I'd be lucky if I'm playing Kingdom Hearts 3 by, 2017.
Right.
Now, have they confirmed that they're not working on Kingdom Hearts 3 at this point? Like, there's no other studio making any kind of effort on it?
They confirmed that, yes. They confirmed that it will eventually come out. Just
of course, yeah.
Versus 13 needs to...
Yeah, and I'm surprised, because I'm surprised they didn't try to push 3 to be like a launch title for the PS4, because that thing would have sold better than friggin' anything in the world.
But until Kingdom Hearts 3 comes out, they're re-releasing the games in HD, which I'm all for. I don't personally own my own PS3, but I might, just because I can play Kingdom Hearts 1 and Chain of Memories in HD, which I'm alright with.
Yeah.
Another game, which I was actually going to lead off with, would probably be a third installment to the Banjo-Kazooie series.
You weren't happy with Nuts and Bolts? What's your problem?
Why would I be happy with that?
They gave you all the pieces to make a Banjo-Kazooie 3.
No.
This isn't Toolkit Hour. They should make their own damn game.
That's right.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Fuck Nuts and Bolts, honestly. As stated in my, my Rare article, it's a good game. It's just, no, it's not a Banjo game. And I refuse to intertwine the two, besides the fact that Banjo is in the name.
Maybe you can get that something out of a Bandicoot.
What's funny about that game is that actually started off with a 2-person platformer, where it was going to be multiplayer, but at the time platformers weren't doing good, so Rare said, hey, let's make it a, fucking racing game where you can build your own goddamn cars, and no, I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah, that's something else there. Rare is a whole different beast than they used to be.
Yeah, they are. Connect Sports, guys. The way of the future.
That's right.
And I was thinking, I'm looking at my shelf of old games, and I actually just thought of one that I'd love to see a full adaptation of on, the 360, PS3, possibly the Wii U, even though there's no games for it. Did anyone here ever play Monster Rancher?
The one where you pop the CD and you get a different monster, and for every disc you put in your PS1.
Oh, shit, I remember that.
Yeah.
They're pretty cool.
They were awesome. They were a large part of my childhood. I had every single one of them. The last major installment was Monster Rancher 4 on the PS2, and I remember, making my stepfather go out and, buy certain CDs and, certain cheap-ass things just so I could get specific, fucking monsters to have trophies for.
Go over to that cheap discount bin. It's one of those, we're trying to give these away. Well, I might get an interesting monster out of it. Give me the discs.
Oh, yeah, basically. One of my favorite gag monsters, I think, was if you put Ape Escape, which is a fantastic game, by the way, you would actually get one of the monkeys in the game.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
So
was Ape Escape also from the same developer? I know that Konami does shit like that all the time, like with Metal Gear Solid. You like Castlevania, don't you?
I believe so. Aren't they both Konami?
Is Ape Escape Konami?
Well, I know in Ape Escape 3 there's a whole...
No, it would have to be Metal Gear, yeah, the frog thing, and the ape hunt. Yep.
Well, I remember the game. It was a lot of fun.
Actually, Sony Computer Entertainment Japan.
Oh. Well,
as per Wikipedia.
oh, well, Wikipedia is always correct.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
So on the internet, it's got to be true. Bonjour.
Bonjour.
I always knew you were a French model.
But Monster Rancher is just one of those games I always spent a lot of time on, and I'd love to see a full-fledged sequel. They recently came out with like a DS version, but that was like nothing good.
Yeah, so what would stand in for CDs? I mean, what's the new shtick?
Well, I mean, they could do CDs, but it's a bit harder now because when the Monster Rancher games came out, the main CD platform was PS2 or in the PS1.
Right.
So it'd be a lot harder for them to separate it between two systems unless they went exclusive, which if they were to go exclusive, it'd probably be PS3.
Mm-hmm.
And then I honestly could see a lot of, unfortunately, DLC for the game, which I would never be happy with.
Man, now I want to play Monster Rancher again.
I
And
know,
for some
right?
weird reason, Parappa the Rapper.
Yeah, I've been itching, or I've been dying to scratch that itch ever since trying PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale last week and seeing the showdown between the Walker from Resistance and the rapping Kung Fu Onion. It was pretty amazing. I'm dying to play that.
Do you have to rap for the bathroom again?
No, but you do punch and kick and duck. Don't get cocky. It's going to get rocky, all right, Burt?
Then you do go to the bathroom.
Then you do go to the bathroom. That's right.
Now, Andrew, you mentioned DLC on the Monster Rancher note. You mentioned DLC. What if I know kind of like how Team Fortress 2 does with the hats, where there are some games when they're on sale, if you get them, you'll get different hats for TF2. What if they did something like that with Monster Rancher, where let's say there's DLC that the platform's promoting for other games. If you buy that DLC, it'll give you new things for Monster Rancher, or you buy tracks in Rock Band, and those will give you things in Monster Rancher. It seems like in the all physical media-less like environment that those companies are trying to create, that might be a viable future for that.
Yeah, definitely. I like the sound of that.
That'd be really cool, but Monster Hunter would have to be a very big, I guess, selling point for them to actually, care to do that. You know, it's not like every company is going to be like, oh, hey, let's, add this or, for Monster Hunter.
Plus, there was
Or
a
Monster
novelty
Rancher.
of just reaching through your old CD collection. You might have hundreds of random CDs about, and, finding these monsters. No one wants to buy hundreds of random games or has the money to really do that just to see what monsters you get,
Right.
And
what the hell else Oh, I'm sorry.
No, the process was always extremely tedious, too. I mean, that was the only downside. But I always, when starting a new game, I'd always remember what gives you the best monsters. Like, I remember Rob Zombie's Dracula CD gives you this big-ass dragon that would, kick ass.
That's pretty
shit
awesome.
like that. I'd always remember stuff like that, but it's very tedious going through, practically hundreds of different discs, getting all these, different monsters, and then deciding which ones you want.
Right.
Because after doing it for 3 hours, it's like, I don't fucking play Monster Rancher anymore.
What the hell else were you going to do with those other games that were duds, too? Things like Pandemonium.
No idea.
There's a reason.
But that's all I can really think of. If I, again, like Jay, if I can think of any more, I'll send a shout out before the end of the segment.
Cool. Well, I guess I'll go with mine. As the site's pretty much resident retro gamer along with Burt here. I've been thinking a lot about it, and I have a big bone to pick with Sega because, all right, guys, it's been nearly 20 years now since we've had a proper Phantasy Star sequel. Phantasy Star 4, one of my favorite games of all time. Just a great RPG, huge world. I mean, the overworld was tremendous on the first planet you're on, no less. But then you end up taking to the cosmos and traveling around the Algol star system to combat a great evil. But, I mean, yeah, the anime characters and everything that really caught our eyes back then when you were used to a lot of Western designs in your RPGs. The novelty of the manga style cutscenes wouldn't really stand out as much as it did today, and I think they made the game really cool. But even still, I mean, the universe is fantastic, and it just pisses me off to no end to see it squandered on all these. I don't know. I'm probably going to get some flack here, but I'm not a huge fan of Phantasy Star Online. And they were great. I think right up there with the Final Fantasy games, and to see the franchise just being wasted on these tedious instant-space dungeon crawlers and RPG. It just, I don't know. It's a waste, guys. Sega, you have competent staff still. You really do. Valkyria Chronicles, one of the best games I've played in forever. It's definitely by far one of my favorite games this console generation. The story was fantastic. The character designs were brilliant. Use those resources, pull them together. I know you've pretty much foregone that series, and you've ended up porting. You had one sequel for the PSP and another one for the PSP in Japan, Valkyria Chronicles 3. Pull those resources together. Make a proper fucking sequel to Phantasy Star, because they're incredible games, and the fans will buy it. I know I would.
Frank, have you played? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
They're probably still hungover, Frank, from the epic clusterfuck that was Colonial Marines, though.
But that was Gearbox.
It was also Sega's. Sega was helming it, were they not?
They published it, yeah.
Okay. So they didn't have anything to do with the abomination that was Colonial Marines.
Well, I'm sure they bled a lot of money from that, but
yeah.
Frank, have you played Phantasy Star Zero on the DS?
No, actually, I haven't.
That one, I have not played any of the games in this series, but I have a friend who's a big fan of them, and she constantly advocates that one as being really good. I'm not surprised you haven't, because like you were saying about how like they have smart PR reps who just make weird decisions, hardly any companies or any stores had copies of that game. Like, you go into any GameStop after that game came out, and they would be like, oh yeah, we have copies for the people who reserved them, so we have like 2 copies for those, and that's it. No one had retail copies in that game. No one was sent copies of that game for some reason, and supposedly it was really good.
Now, this is the one that came to the PSP a couple years back, right?
Maybe. I believe so.
I'm pretty sure it went to the PSP and then it went to the DS.
Yeah, something like that.
But, yeah, I don't know. Again, ever since Phantasy Star Online, I've really kind of fallen out of it because they just didn't grab me in the same way. I want fleshed out characters and stories and huge worlds to explore. This running through narrow ass hallways, Monster Hunter style, in these fake open environments, like, I don't know. They're for the birds, damn it. They're not for me. And back to Sega and my bone to pick with them. Another thing. I really would appreciate another Streets of Rage game, guys. Come on. Streets of Rage 2, best beat 'em up of all time. 3 was okay, but if there's any game that's dying to take just the inspiration from what Way Forward's been doing with like Double Dragon, Neon, and even, upcoming Dragon's Crown here, people obviously are still interested in beat 'em ups, and I really think that Streets of Rage is a premier franchise as far as the genre goes. They've Sega of America, the games did great over here. Sega of Japan, they knew how successful they were, but after the president of Sega left in the late 90s, they pretty much forgot about the games. In fact, there were a couple surveys up trying to see what old franchises gamers would be interested in seeing sequels for, and Streets of Rage has appeared on every last one. And they just, I've seen the votes, and they've been tremendous for a sequel for the games, and they just don't bother doing anything with it.
Who forgets Skate?
Yeah, he was alright. I was always an Axel man myself. But no, it sucks. It's just very frustrating to see this resurgence of the beat-em-up genre and not seeing my favorite series by far being represented. I'm just imagining it now. Come on, Sega. HD graphics, a Yuzo Koshiro soundtrack, hand-drawn sprites. Let's do this. Let's make it happen. None of that wacky 3D beat-em-up shit. Just a traditional, old-school 2D beat-em-up. Take the fight back to the Syndicate. Damn it. Clean up those streets. I want it. Have you guys played Streets of Rage at all?
A little bit of the first one back in the day. I've always wanted to get one of the originals and play them some more because I liked what I played, but it's just been a while.
If you got an Xbox, hit up the arcade. They've got all 3 of them in a bundle that Sega put out maybe about 4 months ago. All of them are in there, and it's a blast. I remember playing that a lot. It was they gave you Streets of Rage on Sega CD as one of the pack-in discs, and that was one of the most played games that I had on there.
I will definitely look into that.
And not only that, but also a couple years ago, a company, independent developers rather, had put out a fan-made remake of the Streets of Rage game, which ties all 3 games together. tons of new stages, even enemies that were just on the box art, who obviously weren't in the game, make appearances. It's total fan service. It's fucking amazing. Now, it was pulled shortly after it was released, but you can still find it if you look around online, and I couldn't recommend doing it enough. It's fucking fantastic. Just do it. Lastly, for the games I'd really, really like to see a sequel to, and again, Sega, I'm looking at you, Shining Force. Shining Force, for those who haven't played it, is pretty much the granddaddy of turn-based, grid-based RPGs, strategy RPGs. Shining Force 1, 2, and 3 are absolutely some of my favorite games of all time. 3 was so humongous that we only saw the first entry in the series, in the trilogy, but it consisted of 3 like 40-plus hour games that were fan-fucking-tastic, and they told just a brilliant story. Ever since 3 was released, the only thing they've really done with it is they've released a slew of handheld entries, which are not turn-based RPGs, and lastly, the Shining Force Neo games, which are more along the lines of, do you guys remember Champions and Norath?
No.
How about the D&D beat 'em up, or I guess?
Yeah.
I remember Champions in North. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just more overhead. I'm trying to think of what the hell was it? Was it Neverwinter game that was also done similarly? But it's essentially just a top-down, almost Gauntlet style action RPG, and it's a total waste. The series is great, and it gave birth to games like Final Fantasy Tactics, Tactics Ogre, Vandal Hearts, Wackenroder, and nothing's being done with it. Sega, come on, you are sitting on a gold mine of properties, but all you really care about is Sonic the fucking Hedgehog and the Olympic Games and shit like that.
After the Genesis, it seems like Sega was helmed by a drunken child. That they couldn't really find their direction or decide that they even wanted to be good at anything. They just kept chucking us Sonic Spinballs and saying, eat it and like it. And yeah, that didn't work.
Right.
Yeah, and then only around Colors did Sonic finally start to sober up. And even that was...
And then he took a few steps back with the latest iteration. It's a shame. I don't know. So really, those are the games I'm dying to actually see true sequels to. Actually, there was one other one also. Outlander. Have you guys heard of it at all?
Yes.
I have a vague recollection of it.
It was a 1992 post-apocalyptic game developed by, who was it? It was Mindscape. Basically, you're in your jet black muscle car, cruising through this Mad Max-style desert wasteland, being pursued by gangs of psychopaths. The cool thing was, it's almost like a fucked up Oregon Trail, in that you need to watch your fuel levels. This is for the Genesis and Super Nintendo, by the way.
Sounds like driving through 295 in Jersey.
It's very similar, only a little safer. But you need to watch your fuel levels, your food levels. Take too many shots to your windshield, you're going to have to get that replaced. When it comes to that, you're going to come upon towns at some point, and you can choose to pull over or keep going. Do you want to risk running out of gas? Probably not. So when you come to these settlements, the game cuts from a first person on the Genesis and it's a behind-the-back camera on the Super Nintendo for the driving segments, but it cuts to a side view in the towns where you're actually going around these towns and cities doing just gunplay combat. It's nothing really elegant, but it worked. And while you're doing these shooter segments, you're also scavenging for food, new parts for your car, upgrades, new weapons, and fuel. And then when you're able to top your tank back off, you can get on the road. But the cool thing is, being you're in this post-nuclear wasteland, you actually have a Geiger counter that you need to use to determine, is this food going to fuck me up? I can see a modern version of this done like in a pseudo Fallout kind of way, where you're not just driving on this one endless stretch of road, But just this full-on environment where you have branching paths and yada yada, and you're just cruising to your destination with cities laid out along the way and yada yada. And maybe, I know, in the older, more arcade game style, you're constantly under attack in Outlander. But it'd be cool to see, like, more tension-building moments where you're just on the road and you don't know if you're going into gang territory or not. That would be awesome, and I would really like to see something like that, but I don't even think Mindscape is still around any longer, so I don't see that happening.
Yeah, back when I was, I think 10 or 11, I got really into ROMs for a little while, like just to play like games I wouldn't be able to play any other way. And this was actually recommended to me by someone, and I played it a lot for what I could at the time. And I remember I never understood how the Geiger counter worked, so I would always die from like radioactive food poisoning or whatever it was. And I was convinced the game was broken, and it was totally the game's fault, not mine at all. No, not mine at all.
The future analog of dying of dysentery somewhere in Montana.
Exactly. And I'll tell you what, while my oxen did not drown, nor did my car going across a river, it was always satisfying to have a crazed chain-wielding biker behind you. You can see him in the rear view. And if you slammed on the brakes, he would literally flip over your windshield in a trail of gore. It was fucking fantastic.
That was sweet.
Yeah.
And then if you hit F8, you could hunt him.
People.
Delicious.
So I think that's pretty much it for the segment, guys. Now, I know, Jay, you had some news you wanted to talk about along with a new segment, don't you?
Yeah, or actually I was going to hand the segment over to Andrew if he wanted to head that.
You mean the news segment?
Yeah, the news, yeah.
Yeah. All right, I'll get started with that. First off, Jay, when you mentioned Okami earlier, actually reminded me that someone from Capcom actually teased an Okami announcement.
Really? How did I not hear about this?
Next week they're dropping a fresh announcement about most likely a new Okami game.
Why did no one tell me about this? I gotta go!
Yeah. I figured you, out of all people, would know about it.
I don't know how I missed this. Okay.
Yeah.
Okami, take Jay's money away.
Do it. You did it twice. You will do it again if I ever get a PS3 and get the HD version. Were there any details about? They said some announcement Okami related, basically.
Yeah. The official tweet said, "Hello, this is Okami News. Sorry, I've been kind of out of touch lately, but I have the feeling we'll be able to drop a fresh announcement like wham around the beginning of Golden Week. So please look forward to it. Right now, we're on track with preparations."
Excellent.
So the official Okami News.
So you got a couple of months if it's Golden Week then.
I would hope it's a legit Wii U or possibly PlayStation sequel. Hopefully Wii U, because I preferred the original Okami on the Wii personally. I think the Wii U would be a great home for that style of gameplay. Sort of like the sequel that was on DS, where you actually draw your attacks using the touchpad.
Right.
Maybe it could be on all three. They could all just get along.
Nope. Really.
Can't they all just get along?
No, the console war will never die.
Can't they all just catch them all?
Frank, you mentioned you played Okami. Did you play the sequel on DS?
No, honestly, I only played the original PlayStation 2 release.
I suggest checking out the Wii version or the PS3 HD version if you have a Move. But the DS sequel is good, but kind of skippable. It's a game. You can play it. Like, it's okay.
I'll have to check it out because I'm still looking for a reason to use my Move.
Other news I got is Iwata has taken the place as the CEO of Nintendo of America. What do you guys think about that?
Who was he replacing exactly? That was my question.
Guy.
The guy.
That's my best
I mean,
guess.
all we know is Iwata is getting more power now, basically.
Well, I don't know. I'm happy with it. He's always been a very hands-on manager, and he has a passion for the industry along with his company. So I feel it's in good hands.
No matter what, he'll be bringing you more Mario,
and we will get more Mario.
Yep.
More Mario.
And it's great, guys. Now that the Nintendo has finally released the HD platform, they can actually get on the ball and keep feeding us tried and true games they've made before, now in HD.
Oh my god. And there'll be people who will buy them all over again. Like
I'm
me
looking
and
at you,
Sam.
Jay and Andrew.
Hey,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Back
know.
to basics Metroid with a new coat of paint.
Oh, yes.
Wind Waker's looking pretty good, though.
Oh, my God.
Right?
Oh.
I might actually finish it this time around.
I think Jay needs new pants.
Oh.
I need
New
Very
Okami, Wind
good.
Waker HD. Oh, my God. I'm just drowning it. Never mind.
He's
Now,
gonna need
what are
a
you
minute.
drowning
He'll be
in,
in
Jay?
his bunk.
Man, I completely. Oh yeah, speaking, like buying new stuff in HD, man. No matter how many times they ever re-release Ocarina of Time, I will buy every single version. I don't
You will.
honestly. I'll be, 50 years old, and they'll be re-releasing it for the 20th time, and I will buy it.
You guys want to hear a dark secret?
Yeah.
I never beat Ocarina of Time.
Get out of here! No,
How far did you
I
go?
don't even know how I got to this site.
you leave.
How far did you get?
The water temple.
Oh, yeah,
Come on, it gets.
No, it was maddening. I'm sorry. My 1998 self couldn't handle that.
Pick it up on 3DS because they fixed that. It's
Already
a lot
got
easier. Oh, okay.
The two temples after the water temple, though, were so beautiful. They're, like, so unique and awesome.
Was the Shadow Temple after the Water Temple?
No, they were beautiful. Remember, it was on the N64.
Yeah.
Everything
yeah.
looks like
Honestly-
queen shit on the N64.
Like somebody exploded the Easter Bunny.
Yes.
I don't know. I didn't play it. I didn't beat it until I got the 3DS version. That's the only version I've beaten.
Okay.
And even then, that version, everything's beautiful. Like the Shadow Temple and the Water Temple, well, mainly the Shadow Temple in the 3DS version is like one of my favorite looking like dungeons in any Zelda game, probably.
Oh yeah, same here. Especially the history behind it all.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, one of these days I'll do it. I'll probably end up trying to play through Majora's Mask first, though, just because I have played even less of that than I have of Ocarina of Time.
Same here. That's my guilty thing. Is I've only gotten a quarter of the way through Majora's Mask.
Jay's main grip with Majora's Mask is he feels like there's not enough time, even though I've told him multiple times that he can actually slow time down.
And that fixes it. But
6 days.
Yeah, and I did that, and that's how I got through the first dungeon. But that doesn't change the fact that it just feels like no matter what you do, I'm not compelled to talk to any of the characters in the village or anything. I'm not really compelled to go on because I just have this feeling that like nothing's really going to matter when in 6 in-game days everything just resets and goes back to time.
Exactly.
But it's all part of the... Oh, man, like, my favorite part about Majora's Mask has to be the side quests. That game is side quest heaven. Like, the best side quest, like, out of any Zelda game I've ever played would probably be the, Chef and Anju quest.
Oh, I know what you're
Where
talking about.
it's the 3-day quest, that you have to do certain events in certain ways. Otherwise, it's all fucked up. But it ends where, with pure happiness. And plus, you gotta do it with the fierce fighting mask anyway.
I don't know, man. I like ideas like that in theory. Like, I really like the game in theory. It's just, when I'm playing a game, I like to see how the things I've done impact the world after I've done them. And in that game, I just don't feel like that happens.
Knowing you can shrug off the inevitable, I mean,
you do at the end. Like, say at the end, say you don't do the side quest I was just talking about. In the end sequence, it doesn't show the aftermath of that. In the aftermath, the kid, the supposed husband is still a kid. You didn't actually save his, life, basically.
Huh.
The changes you make during the 3 days, no matter how many times you reset, do reflect in the ending.
Gotcha.
Okay, that's cool then.
Yeah, that is cool. But getting off of that, another piece of news is the fact that Nintendo was not having a big conference at E3 this year, which is odd, in my
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely significant, especially if you look at but Microsoft has gone, and announced over the past week that they're going to have a showing of the next Xbox iteration. What is it, the Infinite, or whatever they're calling it now?
Xbox Infinity, I believe.
Infinity on May 21st. Sony had a strong showing in February with their announcement of the PS4. Having Nintendo essentially a no-show or playing mum at E3 is kind of scary, especially considering the real lukewarm response of the Wii U at this point. I think they're probably making a pretty big mistake there.
They're still going to E3. they'll be at E3, but they're not doing a huge conference like
Right.
they've done in the past. From what I've read, that they're doing 2 separate conferences that are a bit smaller.
One for Wii U, one for 3DS, right? Probably.
Well, no, not that. But I believe I read that. If I'm wrong, then I apologize. But I also heard that they want to do Nintendo Directs at the same time, which I like, but I disagree with it because Nintendo Directs are usually just something that a Nintendo fan sees.
Right.
It's not like something, a 360 or PS3 user is going to,
And that's the thing,
watch.
too. In this generation, I think that it's really imperative that Nintendo tries to grab people away from the other consoles and tries to make their mark and make people say, you don't want to just, have my system in the peripheral. You need to actually, you want to start taking some of the market for your own, have people actually getting excited for your products. My Wii was always a stand-in system. I never really was my go-to. There were precious few games that I was really pulled to. They want to start amassing people who actually can be proud to be diehard Nintendo fans again, guys. Reasons to actually, crave the games that are coming out on the platform, to follow the day by day and not have the system essentially an afterthought like the Wii was, at least in my mind. I don't see that kind of approach being a strong grab to try to get a new audience to buy the Wii U.
Well, all right, so I'm going to disagree with you, and here's why. I think if this were the E3, if this were the last couple E3s where the Wii U hadn't launched yet and they're still trying to pitch this system, then I would have agreed with you. I think in the position they're in now, especially with how many Nintendo Directs they've done, people like you were saying, or I think you're saying how like Nintendo Directs are very much for Nintendo fans only. I don't know if that's true because they stream those online. People watch the Nintendo Directs. People pay a lot of attention to the news that comes out of Nintendo Directs. They're like miniature conferences. And I think people pay enough attention to that if Nintendo wants to just use the monthly or bi-monthly or however often Nintendo Direct and just have that be their own thing, as long as it's just new games they're announcing and just sort of showing new things they're releasing for the hardware they already have, I don't see a problem with that. I think it's just as viable an option.
My gripe about that is a 360 or PS3 fan won't necessarily watch that compared to where if they're having a big conference on TV where it's taking up a huge block time where they might sit down, okay, what's Nintendo got on the plate? I'm pretty sure at E3 they won't be saying, oh, hey, check out the Nintendo Direct.
I don't know.
When it's on TV, it gives, other players an excuse to, I guess, watch it.
I don't know though, like, because when I don't have a PS3, so I've never paid attention to Sony conferences at E3. When I didn't have an Xbox, I never paid attention to Microsoft at E3. I think you're overestimating how many people pay attention to the big, like if people are gonna invest an hour in watching a conference, they're gonna invest an hour in watching a conference that they think is gonna bring them something they directly care about. And for me, and I think a lot of other people, it's probably not going to change a lot if Nintendo doesn't do that.
Well, I can't wait to see how they handle it. I like it, but I don't at the same time. I think one of the bigger reasons that they're not doing an actual conference is because I feel like they think that they can't compete because basically PS3 and 360's conferences are going to be about the new systems.
Right, and I think that's a large part of it as well.
Well, the only thing Nintendo is going to be bringing is new games, which is perfectly fine. They're going to be unveiling Super Smash Bros. At E3, but it's, Microsoft and Sony have their new consoles. Everyone's going to be talking about that, and Nintendo's kind of just going to be in the corner.
Which is why I think they need to actually do something, because this holiday season is going to be critical for the Wii U. People are going to be flocking to these new systems, and I think that... See, the Wii U's kind of at the disadvantage where it's kind of old news at this point already. It's going to feel irrelevant come next holiday season unless they really have...
Shut up, Frank. I'm talking now. Hey guys, Jay here. Sorry about the abrupt cut there. We had a bit of a recording error. My internet died, and I'm the one recording the show, so that messed us up a little bit. But we were basically at the end of what we had to say on the topic anyway, so we managed to fix things up and decided to just hop into what we've been playing. So I'm going to hand things over to Burt, and he's going to ask us what we've been playing. Take it away, Burt.
Okay, so I guess this is the part where we're getting into what we've been playing this week. Since Franny wasn't here last week, I think we can probably go ahead and give him the lead off on this.
What have I been playing? Well, I just did a long play of House of the Dead on my House of the Dead cab the other day. Put it on YouTube, so I was messing with that a little bit. Aero Fighters 2 on the Neo Geo. And, what else? Resident Evil 6, I've still been plowing through that co-op with Luke, and that's been a lot of fun. I know the game's been shit on universally, but I don't know, guys. I said before, and I'll say it again. I'm really enjoying it. Is it a great Resident Evil game? No. But it's a fun co-op shooter, and I'm enjoying it as much as any Gears of War game for what that's worth. Also, Bioshock Infinite. I know that Andrew hasn't finished it yet. I'm not going to go into anything, really. Jay loved it to death. All I can say is pretty impressed so far. The atmosphere is just incredible. It's been a long time since I've been pulled into a game world like I am with this one, and I'm really interested to see what happens later in the story. All right, what about you guys?
I'll start off. As the past two podcasts, Monster Hunter, and nothing but Monster Hunter. I think I've logged about 100 hours into the game, and honestly, not stopping.
How long is this game, man?
Well, it's not, there's no end game, really. Technically speaking, there was, after you get through the first 5 stars of Village Quest, that's, the end of the game, quote-unquote, because you get credits, but there's so much more to that.
Sounds like Final Fantasy. You're done when you're done. If you want to go out there and grind until level 99, go out, have fun.
So what is this new monster I've been reading about that was made specifically for the game?
Can I have more information?
I think you fight him in a volcano or something.
Oh.
There's 2 that I know of. Most of the monsters in the game are brand new to the series. I think there's only 3 or 4 returning from old Monster Hunter games.
Well, I'm thinking new that weren't featured in Try.
Then that would have to be, I believe, his name is the Dire Maris or something like that.
That's him, yeah.
He's a huge-ass dragon. I haven't gotten to him yet, but I'm well on my way. Because the way the game works is there's actually 2 different places to hunt. Right. There's the village quests, where you start the game off. That's basically single-player, where you have 1-star to 9-star quests. Up into 5-star, that's low rank, and then 6-star and above is high rank. That's all single-player. Then there's the port, which is made for multiplayer online, where you get low rank, which is easy as hell, high rank, which is a bit harder, than G rank, which is like fucking monsters raping you up the ass all the time.
Sign me up.
It is harder than hell, but he is a G rank monster that's at the end of the port, which I am well on my way to fighting, just I'm not looking forward to it because I have shitty armor.
Fair enough.
Hence the reason I have to grind for everything. But it's a great game. I've said it before, I spent 100 hours into it, and honestly, I don't see myself stopping anytime soon, so, yeah.
That said, have you found time to play anything else?
Yes. I've actually been wanting to play this one game, but before I say it, I have to ask everyone here, what is everyone's favorite Final Fantasy game?
7.
I'd say 6 or 7.
I've only played a few of them, but 3 personally.
Okay, well, I hate you all, because my favorite is Final Fantasy 9.
9 is fantastic as well. I'm pretty fond of the Oglops myself.
I haven't actually started, but I've been thinking about it. I was actually going to pop it in earlier. 9 is my all-time favorite Final Fantasy game of all time. It's the characters, the storyline. I have it on my PSP too, so I'll probably actually dig that out and charge it. It's amazing, and it was refreshing to see the series go back to that whimsical, lighthearted fantasy style too that it had been missing over the past few entries before it. Yeah, and what I hate with 9 is everyone finds it so underrated because it's in the shadow of 7 and 8, and it's 7 and 8 are great games, but
I can test 8.
They just feel like it's way better than 9, which I disagree, but I mean, it's everyone's opinion. It's just, I feel like 9 is lost in the shadow.
Mine always looked good, but I never got a chance to actually play it because I was broke.
Well, I think another big part of it, too, is that, it came out the same holiday season in America as the PlayStation 2. I think for a lot of reasons, I think that's a big part of the reason it was overlooked.
That's true. I've always loved Final Fantasy. Not recently, though, because I am 13, but I still have the 4-disc set that goes along with my almost dead PS2.
Fuck 13. Seriously.
Yeah,
Yep.
13.
Fuck
Best
that.
hallway simulator ever.
Mm-hmm.
Finally invented a game that could masturbate. It plays itself.
It's completely accurate. It really does.
I got Final Fantasy 13 the day it came out on the PS3, and I can tell you that I probably played it twice.
Yep. Same
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, same here.
And that not even long. Like, I had a friend come over, and he wanted to try Final Fantasy 13 out, and the time that he was over, probably played it more than I ever have.
Hey, you want to take it with you? I need some room on the shelf.
Every character was unbearable.
I like the Afro guy with the chocobo in his
Zaz, was it?
He was cool. I liked him.
I just kept calling him Chocofro.
You and everyone else, yeah.
I called him Samuel L. Jackson.
He needs his own game, then I'll be happy.
Did 13.2 get any better?
If
anyone's played it?
It'd have to, I imagine.
After 13, I wasn't about to jump back into that one.
I actually heard some very good things about it. Like there were a few people who were calling it like one of the best like RPGs of last year. I mean, that of course you have to buy DLC to get the actual ending of the game, which is ridiculous. But,
wow.
But
taking their PR cues from Capcom, I see.
Yeah.
Or from Mass Effect 3.
Yeah, or Asura's Wrath.
Well, no, they didn't charge for that one, at least.
Yeah, they didn't charge for that, and it had an ending. The fanboys were just butthurt over it. But,
I have at least one friend who you have to tranquilize if you start talking about Mass Effect 3.
And other than that, do you remember the first podcast I was on, and I said that I had a goal for the end of the year?
Oh, yeah.
To beat every Zelda game, and I had to do it in order.
Right. How far along are you?
Well, I'm on Adventure of Link.
That's a great fucking game.
Honestly, Adventure of Link, besides Oracle Seasons and Oracle of Ages, is the only Zelda game I've never played. And, I have no motivation to do it. It's not fun.
Really not enjoying it, huh?
No, not really. I am, but it's very, very difficult.
It's just too weird for me. Like
just too different.
Yeah, as dumb an argument as that is, I feel like it really is true for some people in that case. I kind of I completely respect that game for being a very good game. But I do have it. I have played it, but just for me, it's not what I look for in Zelda as much. It's just not a Zelda game to me. Kind of like how Nuts and Bolts isn't a Banjo game to a lot of people. Zelda 2 just isn't as much of a Zelda game to me.
Right.
You got to think in the NES era, they were experimenting with their game types, which is why Mario Bros. 1, 2, and 3 all look completely different, basically.
Also, 2 was a totally different game.
Yeah, I know, but I'm getting through that, and. Well, I have 8 months, almost 7 months left of the year. It's after I get through Adventure Link, I'm gonna skyrocket through the rest of the Zelda games.
Fair enough.
Because every other game, besides again Oracle of Ages and Oracle Seasons, I've played and beaten to death, except for maybe Twilight Princess.
I would revisit that one if you paid me.
Disagree with that, but that's another story.
It's not my favorite. Too dark, but.
I wouldn't say dark so much as, I don't know, you go into that alternate world and it was like nails on a chalkboard. Nothing about that game grabbed me.
Oh, I love the alternate world.
Did you?
I say dark, it's not like the story is dark, because I love a dark story, like Majora's Mask, that story's amazing. But I'm saying dark as in, the colors. It's so, it's black, brown.
It's muddy.
I'm being harder on it than I should. It was an alright game. I was disappointed though. I enjoyed Wind Waker a great deal more.
Oh yeah, same.
Yeah. Wind Waker's my favorite Zelda, and I'll defend Twilight Princess to the death, but to be fair, yeah, it was definitely too muddy, had bad presentation, and I think a lot of people do give it too much crap. Like, everyone complains about how slow the start was. It was like the first hour was kind of slow. The first couple hours were a little slow. After that, it becomes awesome, and I really do enjoy it a lot. But I do hear that though. That's a valid complaint.
Who's up next? You still going, Andrew?
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, but other than that, I've taken a hiatus for BioShock right now because I have no Xbox Live Gold, and even though that doesn't say I can or cannot play BioShock, it's just given me no motivation to turn on my Xbox, mainly because I know I'm missing out on rewards in this game on Xbox called Happy Wars. And
Happy Wars?
yeah, it was
oh fuck me.
Microsoft's first free-to-play game. And my brother got me addicted to it, and it's like, for the longest time,
if anyone ever asked me if I wanted to play Happy Wars, I'd smack them in the face, call them a pervert, and walk away. Like,
I don't even play it. I just log on to get my free gift, and then I just stop playing. And I've done that for 3 months, and you can't do it without Xbox Live Gold, so it's like it's a constant reminder of the gift I can't get.
God.
Well, I'll probably start BioShock more again this weekend.
You absolutely should.
Yeah, as well you should.
And I will. But that's all I've been playing.
Well, I've had a couple of things that have been kicking around here. Like I was telling Frank earlier, I keep my Game Boy Advance, my old unit, real close on my nightstand.
Nice.
And I've been playing Dr. Mario basically before I go to bed for like the last couple of nights straight. Just kind of playing a couple of levels until I develop Mario elbow and have to stop. But other than that, I finished BioShock Infinite. As mentioned on the Facebook page, it's like being screwed in the face with a chainsaw at the end of it. But the first thing I did as soon as I finished it was I said, I want to go back and make different choices just to see what happens. So I've started doing that, and I've gotten back up to the incredibly racist Hall of Heroes.
Yes. That's part of the game.
Yeah, and you just go through that. I'm like, wow, they ain't pulling any punches, are they? But you know, I've gotten through that, and then I promised I would give a fair shake to another game that, honestly, and to give you an anime analogy, a long time ago there was a show called Cowboy Bebop, and everybody was waiting for it. And while you were waiting for it, you got Outlaw Star, which was the poor cousin. Dishonored is the poor cousin that you played before you started playing BioShock Infinite. From the moment you start playing it, it is apparent how bad it wanted to be BioShock. It's just not as good.
All right, how far have you gotten in Dishonored?
In Dishonored, I got as far as like you find out about the revolutionaries and whatnot, and they send you on the path, and it's going through the first light wall was where I gave up on it, and I realized I want to keep playing Borderlands 2 because that was fun.
Really? Okay. I can see that. Personally, I really liked Dishonored, and that first area that you're in is a little clunky, but if you keep going with that game a little bit, and you don't have to, but it's a game that really shows, I think it's a good proof of concept, if not a good actual game. It's not. It does have parts where it's not very fun, but it's an interesting proof of concept game for if nothing else.
Well, it's not even so much a gameplay thing. I mean, the gameplay wasn't so bad, but one of the things that I looked at was like, you obviously took a lot of time and put a lot of thought into your environments. Now, I don't know if it's because I've got like one of the ancient Xbox units, so the graphics just don't look as polished. But I mean, I look at Infinite and I look at that and I go, what were you thinking?
Yeah.
The design of it, like you look at the way that they visually handled it and you go, I know you can do better than that with this hardware. I know you can do better than that with this hardware. And it's one of the things that consistently the folks I've talked to about it have said, you know, it's one of those, I really thought from the stuff that you saw in the commercials and all of the hype that they put out for it, that it was going to look better. I have a degree in design. Maybe it's me being way too picky about it.
No, it's not.
It's just, you know, it's one of those, you could have done better. You didn't polish this up well enough to really kind of immerse me in your world.
Yeah, I remember I was talking about it, one of the first couple episodes I was on, I was playing it at the time and I was talking about it, and really to me it's, when you're playing Borderlands or Borderlands 2 and you first go into an area and everything's kind of fuzzy before all the textures kick in for a second, that's how that entire game looks. Is like that.
And I'm like, you know, if you were going for the impressionist painter look, sorry, I don't do impressionism. But it just seems like everything was, it almost borders on Pollock painting. Like, you just look at it and you go, I can see banding. That is so 1990s. You can eliminate that. You can anti-alias. You can do all sorts of stuff, but you didn't. Why?
Yeah. I will say it does get better, but unfortunately it does take a bit. So if you don't find it necessary to do that, then I understand. Actually, that game, I should have mentioned this, that will be a game, if a sequel to Dishonored ever comes out, that has the potential to be like one of my favorite games, because, again, it's a fantastic proof of concept. If they fix the terrible graphics and just do some better level design and stuff, I think it can be fantastic. It's just not right now.
Yeah, I also had some issues with the controls on it. Like, their lean mechanic is awful.
Yeah, that's pretty silly.
And they have the blindest guards I've ever seen. It's one of those, dude, my whole head is over this ledge. How do you not see me?
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, it is a first-person stealth game where it's harder to get a good view of your environment without having to make some little exceptions like that, but I see where you're coming from.
But that's all I've got for currently playing. I imagine we're on to the new segment for you.
Well, no, I've still got what I've been playing.
Oh, that's right, we do.
Yeah.
We do. I'm an idiot. Holy
yeah,
crap.
you are. No, it's fine. No, so I've been playing a couple things. Kirby's Adventure, or the original Kirby game on the NES, was available for 30 cents on the Wii U Virtual Console, and I never played it, so I picked that up. And that I think Andrew's excited. And that's a lot of fun. Been toying around with that actually a lot more than I thought I would be. That's kind of maybe my time waster game in the last few days. Is that besides that, I picked up Antechamber for half off on Steam. Antechamber, for those who don't know, is kind of a Portal-esque game. It's an independently developed first-person puzzle game. Very unique in visual design. It kind of uses the visual design to build the puzzles. It's not a puzzle game like Portal in the sense that, like, in Portal you've got your gun that shoots the portals and you've got, everything for the puzzles is very clearly set in your environment. This is one of those games where you will be staring at an area trying to figure out what to do and looking at this bizarre, obscure puzzle that you have no idea how it's supposed to work. Then, in frustration, turn around as if you're going to start trying to find another way, and the way you came isn't there anymore. Instead, it's now a path to the actual puzzle you're supposed to complete to move forward. It's one of those kinds of games where it just tricks you and uses your own... It uses your own line of thought against you, almost, which is really interesting. The game, it visually uses contrast to present itself, to create puzzles and present itself in a confusing light. It tries to confuse you as much as possible, because basically you're in this stark white environment. Like, even the lines of where walls meet each other are kind of blurry. It looks like if someone played Mad World, the game, on a like very high brightness television, basically, is how this game looks. It's just black and white with very little black. And then you'll go into areas that have bright neon color here and there. It's just this very thickly contrasting game. But you start out in first person, or it's all in first person. You start out just on your own. You get a gun that is usable in some specific puzzles, but not all. Supposedly there's some other ones that I haven't gotten yet that also help you in particular puzzles. It doesn't have that feel that Portal does, where like you have all the things you need in your hand from the beginning. Which I kind of like how, like, you feel like you can take on any puzzle just from the beginning. Where in this game they kind of build upon what you have as you go. But it has some really cool mechanics. Like, there are some areas where you'll see this little, like, transparent seeing eye thing in the middle of the room, and through that everything looks like it's a different color, and you look through it and you see a different room. And if you move close enough that what's in the seeing eye thing is entirely in your camera, and then move back, you're suddenly in that other room. And then the seeing eye things work as sort of doors to different areas in that way. It's a lot of fun. It's very perplexing. I've gotten very angry at it a couple times. I'm not sure how much longer I'll be coming back to it. But it's the right kind of anger where you still want to come back later. And interestingly enough, I was reading into the game. Apparently the designer of it based the game on his experiences being in Japan for the first time. Because it's one of those feelings like just complete disorientation, not knowing where you are exactly where you're going, and just the feeling of backtracking and finding other routes where you backtrack from that you had no idea were there before and could never have said were there before. Because like you listen to interviews with, I forget his name, but the guy who created this game, he was talking about how like, and it's such a weird idea for a game, but I love it, that his first time in Japan, he would find himself trying to find a subway station, go a ways in one direction, turn around, go back to a specific spot, and find 3 different routes that he could swear didn't exist before. Like, I don't know if it's part of the architecture of that area, but he was just inspired by his own perplexion of trying to find his way around Japan that he made a game out of it. And I think that's pretty cool.
Sounds like he was trying to make Human Revolution from Deus Ex. I've played through that. I continue to play that game now and keep finding new shit that I didn't know was there.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's that. Anna Chambers is interesting. I'm going to keep playing that for a little while. The one other thing I've been playing is a bizarre little free-to-play RPG called Off. Off has been making the Tumblr circuit recently, and I'm not sure how long this game's existed, but its English patch, it's a French game, and its English patch just came out. Off is, oh man, it's a minimalistic styled game. Everything looks kind of like it's like made of pixel art made in MS Paint. It's very minimal color, like it's black lines, white background, everything's one shade of green or one shade of purple. Looks like a very early like Game Boy Color game. And you're going through these places. Everything's written very bizarrely. You play this this character in a baseball outfit holding a bat, just called the Batter. And basically your quest is to go purify these different zones, which are all districts of this enormous, bizarre city. It's extremely like, I don't know if I would say Lovecraftian. It's a horror game is what it's meant to be. It's very twisted, bizarre visuals. Like you're fighting you meet the citizens of this city, and they're telling you about the 4 elements of like that the world's built on, kind of like how in normal RPGs it would be fire, water, air, and earth. In this, it's plastic, smoke, iron, and meat. So that gives you an idea of just how bizarre this game is. And then you're fighting enemies and their versions of the citizens whose heads have just been replaced with just like ropes of meat and just all these twisted, kind of disturbing imagery going around that you're fighting, and it's so strange. And some of the puzzles are really bad. There's some really, really like early Zelda puzzle design, like where you have it's on the level of like all the torch puzzles in every single Zelda game, where you know it's coming and it just keeps coming. So the puzzles are really annoying, and some of the actual gameplay can be a bit slow and repetitive, but I still find it intriguing enough to keep going just to see what's next in this extremely bizarre but really kind of horrifyingly captivating world. Like you'll fight one boss is a giant whale that has its eyes bleeding. It's like heavy horror imagery, but it's a lot of fun, and the soundtrack is very like the twisted. It sounds like a bunch of clowns like have like it sounds like clowns holding a bloody revolution, basically. Like,
that sounds amazing.
It's pretty cool. But,
well, there went me sleeping.
Yeah. And, so yeah, that's what I've been playing. And with that, I kind of want to lead into a new segment I have, a sort of roundtable segment, if you will. And this idea was partially taken off, I want to give full credit here, was partially inspired by another podcast I listened to called The Bandcast. And I want to give full credit to them. Go listen to The Bandcast. They're a very good show. They do a sort of similar idea to what we're doing here. Basically what this this roundtable segment is going to be is each week, in each episode, each of us suggests something for the rest of us to check out. It can be a game, it can be a TV show or an anime, it can be a movie or an album, a book, whatever you want it to be. Any kind of media that each of us wants the others to check out. We each suggest something in each episode. And over the course of the next week, each of us has to, in some capacity, as much as we can, check out at least one of those things. And then on the next episode, we'll all say what we chose to look into and why and what we thought of it and sort of review it and then start over again. So this is the first week of that, so we've got some things to introduce. So I'm going to ask Andrew first. What do you got for us?
Oh boy. What I've got for you all is actually a book. Starting it off a book. Jay has heard of it, and I'm actually letting him borrow it, and I bet you he has not read a single page of it yet.
I have not.
but it's called Ready Player One.
It's a game book.
It's a book about, there's this virtual world called the Oasis, where basically it's like, you put the virtual helmet on, where it started off as a video game, but as time went by, it became a part of everyday life. Work, school, sex, everything. As everyone lost basically their minds inside this virtual world, the real world around them basically has turned to shit. Well, the creator of the Oasis dies. He does not have an heir, no kids. So what he does is he hides his fortune somewhere within the program. And the first person to find the 3 hidden keys and unlock the vaults basically where the fortune is the new owner of the Oasis and to the fortune. The book is filled with incredible amounts of, video game knowledge and a lot of 80s knowledge too, which I feel gives a very nice charm to it. It talks about video games, anime, all sorts of stuff. Like there's one part where he's talking about a virtually recreated world of Azeroth from World of Warcraft. And it's really good. I suggest it. So it's a book, obviously, so you guys don't obviously have to go out and buy it, but check it out.
Find it at a library. It's not too hard to find. It's been making a pretty good circuit. Like Andrew said, he's been bugging me to read it for a while.
A lot of my friends have been on me about reading it, too.
Oh, you should.
Well,
all right,
Burt,
that's what I got for you guys.
All right. Well, Burt, why don't you get next?
Sure. One of the things that I wanted to bring up is also a book, but actually is a core book for an RPG game of the tabletop variety. The title of the game is called Remnants. And Remnants is basically a post-apocalyptic game where we've basically managed to nuke ourselves into the Stone Age, either through magic or technology. The setting lets you decide. And basically, it's set amongst the ruins of the old world. You're trying to eke out a living and, try not to be enslaved, try not to be eaten by the mutant creatures that are out there. But the thing is that while we've nuked most of the stuff that was a part of that old society, clean off the earth, a lot of their weapons remain. And these remnants can be found in the wastes, particularly these basically powered armor suits called Ishin. And the Ishin, basically, if you own one, you're running shit because you have a 10-foot tall robot that you can crawl into and then kill people with. The thing that really kind of got me about it, though, was that, there's a lot of giant robot games that are in the RPG tabletop arena. But this one seems to have rules that are really simple, that only need 6-sided dice to play with. And also, actually, in other giant robot games, you're kind of locked into what you have there, and maybe you can buy upgrades. This actually encourages you to get into the thick of combat and actually get physically involved. Because every time that you get killed but not destroyed, like anytime somebody wrecks your mech, it shuts down for 8 hours with you inside of it, and learns from your mistakes, and when you wake up, you have new systems and new capabilities in your mech, and it gets bigger. Between that and, the setting, I love post-apocalyptic stuff. I really kind of fell in love with the game. I was talking to Frank about it earlier today. It sounded like I sold Frank on it. But it's one of those things I'd really recommend anybody who does tabletop RPG type stuff to take a look at it. As far as I know, you can only get it print on demand or PDF format from rpg.drivethroughstuff.com. But if you want to hear a little bit more about a group that actually played it and learn a little bit more, you can also go to another podcast site that I like. Give a quick shout out to the folks over at 2gms1mic.com. Basically, you've got Joe and Nikki and the House Dragon over there reviewing games, and they actually played this for a long period of time, so it's worth it taking a look there. And also going ahead and getting a download or a print-on-demand copy from rpg.drivethroughstuff.com if you can. So that would be my recommendation.
All
Sounds
right.
pretty good.
Yeah, it sounds very interesting, actually. All right, Frank, how about you? What do you got for us?
Well, earlier talking about my Sega rant there, I realized that I don't think anyone else here has played the Shining Force games. So, I don't know. I think that all of you here should try to, if possible, check out one of the games. I know 3 is pretty hard to find on the Saturn, but 1 and 2 were both, I know, on this Sonic's Mega Collection that came out 2 years ago. Yeah, you can find 1 and 2 on there along with Shining in the Darkness. And I mean, even if you download it, I mean, I'm not going to judge it, whatever. It should be easy enough to find online. But if any RPG fans who are looking for, just a solid strategy RPG, if you like Final Fantasy Tactics or whatever, check it out. See what you like. See if you like it. These games are not really talked about a whole lot any longer, but the level of charm is just through the roof. There's not a huge learning curve. You don't have to worry about terrain so much or any kind of elevation issues. It's pretty much top-down game of chess with your knights and your mages and what have you and your centaurs against the bad guys, and it's a complete blast. It's easy to pick up, almost impossible to put down. So definitely, if you guys can play Shining Force 1 or 2, and also don't worry too much because the games, while there are a couple of nods to 1 and 2, you don't need to play 1 to understand the other, and 2 is probably the better game. I'd probably say anyone who is worried about dated graphics, maybe skip the first one and jump right into the second one if that's a big turnoff for you. But check them out.
All right, what'd you say the collection was that 1 and 2 are on?
That is on Sonic's Mega Collection.
I may actually pick that up because I've been meaning to get that. Like ever since I got into Fire Emblem recently, I've been meaning to get into more games of that ilk, and that seems like what that is.
Yeah, if you like Fire Emblem, it's definitely going to be right up your alley. Also, another cool thing about that collection is it has all 3 Streets of Rage games and all the Phantasy Star games on there. So,
sweet.
Yeah.
That is definitely something to pick up. All right. So for myself, I'm actually going to be recommending one of the games I just talked about, Off, and it's completely free to download the English translation of it. Just to know, and I know I just said there were some problems I had with it. I think a lot of those problems are personal opinion, and those aside, this is just one of those bizarre experiences I think everyone should experience, because you will find yourself being equally creeped out and laughing at a lot of just the bizarreness to be found in this game, and the soundtrack's great, just the visuals are extremely unique. And one thing to note, if any of you guys do play it, is there are some text patches, there are some font patches that you need to download that'll come with the game in the zip folder. There's just some font files that you need to download because otherwise the text looks weird. Something happened in the translation process, I guess. But really, it's just, the thing about it is, it's just, I don't know about you guys, I like just feeling like I'm not meant to understand something sometimes. Like, that's why I like some of, oh man, who's like this? Like, Satoshi Kon's movie Perfect Blue, or some of David Lynch's stuff. I feel like there are some pieces of media that you're just not meant to understand. Right. And that's why I like them, and that's what this game is like to me. I think you guys are going to find a very sort of Lynchian vibe to some of the stuff going on in this.
Yeah, Perfect Blue was that kind of anime that basically you watched it and you went, I'm going to put that back on the shelf, I'm going to go pray now.
I love that movie. But yeah, so that's what I got. So we've got our list of stuff. Andrew's got Ready Player One. We've got Burt with his various. I'm sorry, Burt. What was the name of your thing? I forgot the name of it.
It's called Remnants.
Remnants, right? And then we've got Frank with Shining Force, and we've got myself with Off. So we've each got some stuff to check out. And like I said, we all we need to do is each of us check out at least one of these things in the next week, even if it's just a little bit. Even if you just play Off for 10 minutes. Like, even if you can't do more than that, that's alright, as long as you put something into it. And if any of our listeners want to check out any of this stuff and leave some feedback, too, that'll be cool. And
or suggestions.
Or suggestions. Suggestions will be great. And so next episode, we'll come back and review what we did this week, and we'll suggest some new stuff.
Right,
so, gentlemen, are we about ready to wind stuff down today?
Yeah, you want to take us out?
I will gladly take us out. So you've been listening to another great episode of Hey Poor Podcast. Aren't you a lucky soul to have zoned out an hour of your time to listen to our awesome voices? You can find us at HeyPoorPlayer.com. You can find Marius, who wasn't able to make it tonight, at MushroomTomatoes.com with all of his anime news and whatnot. You can find us at Twitter at HeyPoorPlayer, on Tumblr at tumblr.com/HPPofficial. You can find our subreddit at reddit.com/r/HeyPortPlayer, and Andrew's been putting all of our articles on some other subreddits as well, so you'll probably find our stuff other places on Reddit as well. Don't forget to download us on iTunes, check us out on Stitcher, give us a great 5-star rating. We love the 5-star rating. And I believe that's everything, gentlemen. So, without anything else to say, without any other good tidings to give you all, thank you for listening to another episode of Hey Port Podcast.
See ya.
Peace.
We're out.